Hey, hey, hey. It is Minding My Own Podcast. I am your host, Kenda, and this is season 4, episode 5. We have a special episode for you all today. And I got two amazing guests on the show, and we got a really serious conversation for you all. If you are following me now on Facebook, I made a post earlier asking if anyone was in foster care. Did they grow up in foster care? This is maybe something you want to chime into. Maybe you can give some feedback on your experience if it relates to these ladies. But let's get the show started. I'm gonna go ahead and allow you two to introduce yourself. As you can see, they're twins, beautiful twins. And so I'll start with you, dear.
Jocelyn Franklin. And I'm Josephine Franklin.
Thank you so much, ladies, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'm gonna start off by just kind of letting you two open up about the reason why you're here today.
Okay. We aged out of the system, Milwaukee County. Then it transferred to the state of Wisconsin after 19 years. During that time, we went through trauma. We went through abandonment. We went through everything in the system, but it's a little different than most stories because it came from the biological side, where the state and the county failed to do their job to protect us. And the only people we had as our advocate was my mother and my father, which was the foster parents after 19 years.
Wow.
And most of the time the state try to mute us, because it's the lack of, they lose resources and it's a bad name on them, but there's nothing to provide help and advocacy once you age out.
Right.
And we never had justice from the original abuse and neglect from Milwaukee County, which led it to trying to seek resources now. Because what they say is they got performance percentage measures that keep track of all of that, but it don't include the victims.
Go in a little bit more detail in regards to so how old were you when you were placed into foster care?
Early as 15 months of where I exist.
Okay.
But they've been involved for
our whole life
prior to that with the other siblings. I have a sibling that's about close to 20 years apart from me. So he was aging out with my older sister and my other sister, because I am the 8th child from her.
From your biological mom?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's one in between that passed away or was adopted. But we was all in the system prior to that. But she ended up, the report says that she was walking with 4 children with no clothes, and DCF was called.
Wow. So when you say aged out, tell the audience what that means so they can understand what it means. You were in foster care and you were in the process of aging out.
Aged out meaning that we're emancipated. So when we were taken into the state's care, it was state of Wisconsin, and it was no longer DCF, we became the property of Wisconsin. So when we turned, actually, it's not even what you turn. When you complete your last year of high school, you're no longer in DCF, and they're supposed to do an exit letter and transition you out. We was never really transitioned out either. So the resources of transition living that they offer was never even applied to us.
Wow.
They put all the resources, even in my file, copy of my file, my resources is all put on my mother.
Foster parent.
Your foster parents.
My mother. That's who we refer to as my mother.
Okay.
So that's not even fair, first off.
Right.
But to get it even worse, I was supposed to age out in 04.
Okay.
I was pregnant. We was, by us being twins, I got out of high school in 3 years so that my mother didn't have to do 2 graduations at the same time.
Okay.
So I did 3 years and I graduated in 04. I should have been out of the system, but I stayed in the system with her to stay with her.
Okay, so that you wouldn't
if
be
not
split
she would have
apart.
been dropped.
Yes, because
not necessarily dropped, because my mom and them kept her in the house.
But if I didn't have foster parents that was my parents and did that for me,
Mhm.
I would have been on the street without my sister.
Wow.
That's how we can look at it. And the way they went about it, I'm glad my parents did what they did by keeping me in there, because at that time I had a child.
And how old were you then?
I was 16.
Okay.
I got out of school when I was 17. So because I got out of school before she did, if my parents wasn't there, I would have been homeless. I have no resources. I had no housing. They
Wow.
was, going to get jobs and doing what I can. But at the end of the day, you're putting me now back in the same cycle you just took me out of.
Right.
Now you have the right to come and remove my child out the home because I don't have the necessities they needed. But you knew that because you didn't give me that. You didn't make sure. You put it on my foster mother so that now it becomes her problem. So anything can come up. Oh, well, your mother was supposed to teach you this. Your mother was supposed to teach you that. That's what a mother job is. But she didn't even have the role as a mother.
She can't even sign her name.
I had to find my biological mother when I had my
couldn't sign for
C-section to get a C-section for her to sign because she wasn't my guardian.
So you ladies were put into care of your mother, but there was no actual action taken on behalf of the system to ensure that you guys could.
She was never charged. That was part of the class action of them doing the reform law. She was never charged. By the time DCF got done doing their investigation, statute of limitations was up. So when Wisconsin, they do the reform law and they stepped in and did that, it's double no justice as a victim. So nothing forward. So whatever you did, like me, okay, I was diagnosed with childhood, PTSD from childhood
trauma.
Mm-hmm. So I stayed with her 3 years. I couldn't prove that. It took me almost 12 years to prove that without documentation. According to them, when you age out, you get your medical files. We got nothing.
You didn't get anything when you aged out.
My mother
when
and
we
father
aged out,
had to help us.
I wasn't even at home. My last records from my social worker coming out, I wasn't even at home, nor was my son at home.
So where were you?
Excellent. I was probably at his daddy house. Like,
okay.
They didn't call. That it wasn't. They didn't leave anything at the house. They didn't have me sign anything. We didn't have a court date. We didn't have nothing. Like, it just, our life went on. From that point on, it was just like, okay, with the greatest of my parents and protecting us and being there for us, it was like, okay, the social worker's just not coming no more. There's no risk of them coming to take you out the home.
Without saying that.
Yeah.
We went years without having a social worker. So we didn't have that advocacy at no point. Even when we did report abuse to social workers, which is in my files, nothing happened. And that's doing what the state of Wisconsin care. And that's after they took up.
So you're still in care and you're somewhere else at this time?
No, I was still living in the house.
Okay.
I stayed in foster care just so that I can be with her, because if they would have removed me from foster care and aged me out at that time, I would have been a year with my parents taking care of me, basically living there free.
So how do they put someone in foster care without giving that new parent or that new guardian actual guardianship?
Hear me out.
To take care of you appropriately.
The crazy thing is, when we went into foster care, my grandmother, which is my foster mother's mother, had me, my sister, my brother, and another sister.
Okay.
So they were never foster parents from the beginning.
Right.
We was taken to them on her deliberately because they said that she was a good person and she'd do right by it.
Wow.
But she couldn't raise 4 kids under the age of 4, so she gave us her daughter, who is my mother.
Okay.
So neither one of them was foster parents, so they went and did everything the regulations
to keep us together.
We went and they started the adoption for us to go that far, and through all of this, you just hear mom. Boyfriend is listed, but then now here comes the adoption come up. Her rights is TPR. So but now we have adjudicated father that mysteriously pops up. That's not on any of our court records, never been in court, any of that.
Never been a good influence.
Nothing. And you now put him as our adjudicated father to stop our adoption, to prolong, because you lost your rights. Now you manipulating your pimp to be our father.
Wow.
So that you can control to get us back, because now if you can get us back,
you could blackmail, right? She could blackmail.
It's income.
because it got down to
We
the
were
point,
income checks to her.
you know, it got to the point where she had tried that. I found out at my dad's retirement party amongst the whole family.
They were telling you what type of person she
No,
was, or
that it was blackmail. But I heard the blackmail when I was younger. Like, you know, we had telecoms in our house. So
Okay.
my mom was upstairs and she didn't want to hear.
Press the button,
Right.
we had that.
My social worker came in. She wanted to speak to my mom. She asked us to leave. Just hit the button.
Hit the
and
button
go
and go
downstairs.
upstairs. You can hear the whole
Go
conversation.
anywhere, right? You didn't just hear it. And that's when we was notified too that the father, adjudicated father, want to exercise his rights, but he's doing this from jail.
Right.
So how was he supposed to?
He's
There's
doing
no
it for
way
jail.
he
We
could take
sat
care
in
of you.
court and I asked for paternity test when they was trying to stop our adoption. And I said, well, I want a paternity test. Because he's looked down as adjudicated. You can only go two ways. If he's our adjudicated father, I have to look to this man as my father figure.
Mhm.
I got a restraining order on him. How? I got a chips
It was
order.
a 13-year order of protection.
But you're sitting in an orange jumpsuit
And this protection that was
against him and the mother, the abusers.
wow,
But he listed as the mom boyfriend.
right,
But now he's my adjudicated father. How?
right. That makes no sense. That
But
makes
then
no
you
sense.
say, I have to look to this man as my father figure who's sitting in front of me in court in an orange jumpsuit. We got to make sense of this. Like, he don't have rights over himself.
right.
Y'all give him 3.
How you gonna have rights over y'all?
Like, oh.
That's
But then when they
crazy.
put us in the house, they
Come in.
didn't realize they're being manipulated.
Right.
They
Well, they caught
did.
on to
They
it.
caught on to it. So they getting calls from the family members, people calling on our behalf for the abuse, and they're not realizing, which is illegal to this day, y'all. If a mother loses her child,
Mhm.
she have to go and show that she can provide for them children and do what she can, to get them back, right?
Yeah.
Take classes, whether it's AA, get a job. You might have to get a certain classes. Cool.
None of that.
We was
Wow.
her
We said
income.
that at the same time.
We were her income.
Wow.
Yeah.
She
In
had
our
no
record,
income until we came in the
Yeah,
house.
she got $4,000 in 1993. Well, she got it for a very long time because the kids that didn't get SSI got welfare.
So your biological mother was receiving $4,000 for you
Oh, yeah.
guys.
Not
For
me,
all-
but
she
all
had,
them,
she
yeah.
had
For-
7 children.
Wow.
So remember that at 3 years we went back.
Uh-huh.
So at one point, all 7 of us are in one house. So with that income being there and the children are there, her income is 4,000. Once they removed us, her income's 0.
Wow. So even though she had other kids
They
under
were
her
foster
roof,
care too.
Yeah.
so just y'all being removed itself took the money away from her.
No, all of us been removed.
All
meaning
of you
all
guys,
her
okay.
children came for income.
Wow. I want audience. This is Kenyatta. Y'all remember her? She was here a few weeks ago. She's coming back. I asked her to join. Kenyatta, thank you so much for coming in, sis. So I kind of filled her in on what was going on and how you ladies are trying to get justice.
Yeah, they did a reform law and it don't protect
It
the
was-
victims. It protects the state.
Yeah.
It literally violates every constitutional right a human being can, because it's what they have jurisdiction of your body.
Yeah.
If they tell you to leave, and what they do is hide a lot of orders of under chips for a lot of JITs. Let me say JITs. That's what juvenile delinquent. They
Okay.
will hide them under a chips order for funding for so long, so they exhausted that, then say they're delinquent. When a lot of these kids are just delinquent. You know what I'm saying? So these cases get overloaded with different calls, but they're not doing their job.
There's
To this day.
what do you think? Because like I know that you work with some children right now. Have you ever heard of anything like
I
this?
never heard of this before. Never.
What part?
Wow.
No, none of it. I worked with like in group home stuff where people age out. Like that's like the farthest it went. But this
Wow, this is different.
Why do y'all think that what is the group home St. Charles is
Mhm.
no longer, and everybody got all these problems afterwards? What is presented to y'all is a facade.
Mhm.
You get
What the
I'm saying?
media is
Like-
saying is
Like at
Oh,
the end
yeah.
of the day, you gotta look. We grew up in an era where there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram,
Mhm.
there was no social media.
Mhm.
So there was no way of reaching out for somebody to help you. You get what I'm saying? You wrote a letter and hope the post office get it. You get what I'm saying? Now you can go like on social media like this, and we can go live and try to
talk
get
it
her.
out. Yeah.
But at that point, when we doing that, they do a shut up law. They try to shut
Put
you
up or
up
shut
real
up.
quick. But the thing is, they cover so much up to make it seem like they helping these kids out. And I'm being honest, as a product of this, the money that they're giving for donations for CPS and different organizations for kids, I've never seen it. I was 16 years old when we got our first voucher ever. This social worker took us to the store, and what we did not spend went back to the card that they had. My mother didn't even take us to the store to go get them items, and I was pregnant with my son, and I used them on all maternity clothes. So once I ended up giving birth, I'm back to point one. But y'all haven't given them a dime or nothing, no resources at all. But during the time that we're still here in foster care, she's cashing her Social Security checks.
Wow.
So the money she would have been getting out once she aged out would have been her money.
Right. So that you
that
could
money
take care
is
of you
gone.
and your family.
To mention, now they're giving out free credit reports. Well, if that's the case, and I hope she's watching this, you will see that I had a whole We Energy bill in my name. I had a whole Time Warner cable bill in my name before I even turned 10. This was in 97. And then when I call her on the phone, I'm like, bro, I'm sitting in my apartment, first apartment ever, and I'm trying to get the cable. I couldn't even get the cable in my name. So she called and was like, just put it in my name. I'm like, okay, cool. The next day, my mom picked me up from school. I was in college. And we go get the electric in my name right here on North Avenue.
Okay.
So I go in there. I think I was in there too long. So she come in there. My face just dropped. She looked. She like, she put it in your name, didn't she? I said, yeah. It was like $6,000. And when I got home, I'm so pissed.
So while they had us doing visits at a location, and the social worker said, well, we did a background check, and the house is okay. It's in her name. It was in my name. That eviction, they could pull it up. Eviction, yeah.
Get it now, furniture.
Is this still impacting you today? What she did?
I had to file bankruptcy.
Yeah, wow. It's a hard start with no resources.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
y'all say this is resources, but now they're telling people you can get the background check. Where my background check?
Yeah. Imagine starting off negative. Imagine that. With
They
the child.
say no credit is worse than
and
worse
then they
credit.
said they pay
Right.
for school. Well, I log in and see my student loan say $15,000 every day.
That's crazy. And the fact that they can't help you or give you any tools or resources. They're
you get a resource, and even right now, if you call any agency for anybody in
you age out.
Even programs you work with, it's an age requirement. 19 is the cap. You might get 21 if they got special needs, maybe
Or
24 if you know
Housing.
if that's the case.
okay.
But what they don't realize is those same trauma kids is not going to get the resources they need in that length of time where they can actually be efficient, especially when you place them in a gap. So it's like starting from you can't even walk. It's like they keep saying a gap. It got to be another side to this, because so far I ain't even reached it. I'm 36 years old. Like at some point I want to fly to that gap, because it's like it's impossible. You did a whole reforming law, but during the informing law, you used all our records for the kids that was in DCF at that exact time and say, we're going to use this to prove that it was neglect on DCF end, and the state is now going to come over, and the state of Wisconsin has now taken over, because anything y'all come now with DCF is going to have the state of Wisconsin logo on it because they took over, right? It's not even referred to Child Protective Service no more.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the department. So with that being said, once they took over, now they come back with a little fine clause and say, oh yeah, it's for the future kids. It's not y'all. Even though we use your records.
But they only did it like that because when I was doing the research behind it, they started with 19 regulations. That's basically giving you know about the 19 where it's supposed to be housing, the casework.
Yeah.
So basically when they took over, they started a program. It was a pilot program, but it was funded by Wisconsin, but they was on probation for they had to perform at a certain percent. So in there, for them to get that positive number, they X out all of the victims, because if that was the case, you would have had a performance measures to keep track of the victims, to make sure that they get them resources.
Right, to make sure that they get what they deserve.
Every year, giving out your numbers saying you meeting quota, Yeah, because you threw out all of the victims to get a positive number. You already 5,000 plus in the hole. They put 5,000 on there of children because it was all children in DCF. It wasn't just us in that class action.
Yeah.
They tried to do it as a reform to save the state from going bankrupt when they take over because you could sue.
Right.
Like imagine now all of these kids now sexual assault, it has no statute of limitations. They just passed that. But how can I prove anything when you hold the record?
Right.
And you can't speak.
And
now I can't get justice again. You get what I'm saying? Then you put that same class, the reform law, Janae B on all of this on DCF as a victim. That's disgusting.
But no victims came forward. None. Not one. Not even Janie B.
She wasn't present.
Wasn't nobody present for that reforming law. The crazy
that's why you never heard of it is because how can they speak out?
But the crazy thing is, even currently, I sent you the things.
Yeah.
From when she was contacting different people, I'm contacting them, and we came together. I said, I got one question. Who is opening up? Who is saying that our stuff is open?
Pending investigation.
Who investigated it? And why am I still not being informed? Make that make sense.
And the response I got is,
but every time I'm reaching out,
yeah.
I'm still not getting resources. You don't even like my resource just got. Y'all just stole my child support, so that was a resource. You get what I'm saying?
It sounds to me like you said, they created this law to, you know what I'm saying, be able to pursue and continue to do what they need to do to protect themselves. But in the meantime, they didn't care about anything that that affected you and other children
as a victim,
prior to.
As a victim, you have a right to be informed, that
due
process, get justice. You have a right to feel loved, safe, all of that. I have complaints against social workers. I know her name, and if she's still around, we could handle this.
Yeah.
But the state came in. They knew it. It was a civil case. Civil.
Yeah.
That means anybody going in jail, so it's monetary value, correct? So therefore, who gained anything out of that? Eric Thompson got $950,000, and while he's asking to get paid, he can't even verify if he's actually saving his own victims.
Wow.
We contacted him. Here it is, right? So COVID shot a lot of stuff down for us. Like all this was thrown in our lap during COVID. So we sit here going through our DCF records. We're going through the Junie B lawsuit. We're reading up, and we're like, okay, Eric Thompson is the attorney on here. Somehow, shape, or form, I ended up finding him. And
you reached out to him.
So we call him on the phone, and the first thing he say is, we're like, bubbly, like how he is. Like, we're the people you won the case for over here in Wisconsin. Like, here's your proof that what you was sitting here saying is true. Come help us out, and let's see what we can do for the people, the rest of us.
Yeah.
He literally said, how did you find my number? My sister and me looked at each other. I said,
I
don't think he thought he didn't think he was going to be found. But
so you think he was high?
Eric Thompson don't even live here. He lives
in New York. High when the state of Wisconsin, the one who aired this number out.
Right now, Florida is going through. Florida just got their lockdown out.
They're gonna come back.
He's gonna come back, but he's trying to go do Florida right now and pull their DCF and make it a state law. But what he's doing is putting
a reform law.
He's putting little organizations in each city, so that way he can probably go there to preach law or something. Because I'm trying to figure out how did you come here? And he said, I don't do law there. So how did you win this lawsuit for us?
Right.
So hold on.
Right.
Our case is one and unique. It's one and unique. I'm gonna say why. All the California, yes, they are doing it. Yes. Florida, yes. However, it's a little different. We had no attorney to even give consent to even represent us
and say this is the best interest of the kids. No, they should get this. Who is talking on our behalf? We never had a GAL during this process. In fact, the only way we found the different stuff was coming over is that when we went to court, it was never DCF. Now it's always the state of Wisconsin.
They told us they was transferring systems.
So how do they have a court case? How do they have a court case that is supposed to protect children, and it's supposed to provide some type of reward or some type of justice for people who were treated wrong during the process? like you said, y'all were put back with your mother for 3 years, even though
yeah.
you had a foster home that you were living in. You had a new set of parents who actually love you, want to take care of you. And they took you away from them, put you back with her, dragged you through hell. And now you're trying to fight back.
Oh yeah.
And no one wants to help you. No one wants to help them with the legal process. No one can give them answers or resources.
When Evers signed that document, he made it impossible for justice.
Wow.
It don't matter. You could approve, like, you got to think about some of these cases. The kids that you know were raped and traumatized.
Yep.
All they're gonna do is medicate them.
Yep.
And that's it.
That's
they will
it.
never get their story out. Never. It's always this. But you still got a problem with getting resources with that. They give you the medication, but you still don't qualify for Social Security.
And what does medication do when you are mentally traumatized?
They give
emotionally
you things for, like,
traumatized.
Anxiety, depression,
That's it.
Stuff like that.
No, they
I work
don't.
with a lot of-
They didn't give you.
You know how hard
me
it
explain
is to
something
get
to you.
properly diagnosed without documentation.
See, and that's the thing,
I'ma
though.
be
Y'all don't have y'all
honest.
medical records. Y'all
Even
don't
for
have
the
everything.
ones-
Listen,
Even for the ones that in the system, they don't get that one-on-one care and sit down and treatment to fully diagnose these kids. That's why they be between. That's why they do have a GIPS order. You get what I'm saying? So some kids you can save, some kids you can't. Got it. Some parents you can save, some you can't.
Right.
You know?
So we got some comments here. Hey Ashley Stokes. Hello. Ashley says, so were they in multiple states in care?
No.
And she says
No.
they will overdiagnose you.
Oh yeah.
You gotta
And
realize
the system is trying to
prescription,
protect
you get
its
paid off
money.
the prescription pass. You right. That's why they get people to come out and do that.
You know what?
So a lot
Not
of
only that, you can't
hold on.
testify.
A lot of you got to realize a lot of organizations, and I'm gonna be 100. DCF used Blocko Building.
Back then.
Back then was Blocko Building. I'm gonna air it all out. I'm gonna be very 100. They had a therapist in there. They had anything you needed down in there, and it was all the state. Right? Everybody that went in there got Ritalin. Everybody went in there got sleep aid. They got paid off that because they didn't really need a diagnosis or anything other than the fact you were in DCF care.
Wow.
You might not have had sleeping problems, but God dog, you're gonna have
But
it
they
when you
gonna
get done
give
with
them,
the
they
pills.
just giving you something.
They get paid. It's a contract. You got to realize how many kids go into DCF care a year, and I get to send them to a doctor who is going to give the diagnosis that I need. But he get paid off seeing you and writing a script. And guess what? That script you cash what monthly?
That sounds like some type of crazy plot right here.
But you know what though? The patients that I work with, when they got depression, dealing all this stuff, I say personally, it's a mind thing. I don't think you should take the medication because they give you medication, they getting paid for it.
Yeah.
But it's to keep you high and messed
Listen,
up.
you are very
and to
correct.
keep
Hold
you
on.
from
To piggyback what you just said, I'm gonna air it out because when I said I wear my heart in my sleep, I'm done. This is what it is. When I went to the hospital, listen, they gave me a medication that had me to the point where I had no choice but to look to my sister as my other half. They gave me some where I seen lime green spiders, that it was a man with no face, and I looked to her like, you see this suit? That's how doped up you got. And they had to go to the doctor. And I said, I'm not taking this no more, because if I'm in my right mind that can question what is going on, I don't need this. And you're only doing it because of different diagnoses. But you don't know physically how would that affect my body. Which a normal person may not work for me.
Right.
Now I got all the side effects, but the side effects is worse than what I'm going through. I'd rather deal with my demons in real life.
Exactly.
At least they don't see big spiders, bro.
So were they giving you like anxiety medication? You were experiencing the side effects of that?
On a lot of medication. She had mood stabilizer, anxiety.
They diagnose you with the book. They would throw the kitchen book.
But as long as
they'll diagnose you with a kidney infection. It ain't even a kidney infection. You just gotta go to the bathroom.
As long as you drugged up,
they would throw them book at you.
You can't testify.
You can't testify.
You can't be your own witness.
Because then they can say that it was mental illness or that you aren't properly saying anything.
You can commit a crime and be under.
You can't get charged even while you're under a certain medication, because they got to put that
you were
right
lucid.
mind.
That's why people
Wow.
are mentally insane. That's what mentally
And
insane.
you know what's crazy about this?
Wow,
too?
Ashley.
When the doctors, when they come back and they take the meds back, now a lot of these people are dope sick. Now they're going out there going to find some dope, some real life drugs, because their bodies is withdrawing.
Yeah, and they're used to that feeling.
Yeah.
Wow. And So did you just say, I'm not taking these anymore? Is that what happened? Or they just,
Yeah.
Ashley's saying that. So Ashley also was in foster care. And she says, you ain't need meds for being a kid. Hell, I'm sad because this is a new space. If I can tear down the system, I would. She says, I was so doped up with counteract meds.
Let me tell y'all this. Listen,
Wow.
Let me tell y'all how this went. It's so funny because the Blacko building gave us these meds. We were actually, when we were in elementary school,
back with our biological mother,
we was living with our biological mother. But she didn't have nothing to do with our schooling. So when the way the school did us when we were in school, they knew my foster mother. So she'll come up there every day and do our hair, and we'll take a shower in the gym, and she'll bring us breakfast. The woman was so doped up, she didn't even realize we'd come home in different clothes and our hair was done.
Wow.
So they would contact my mother with anything, our report cards, pictures, any updates, parent teacher conference.
Her teacher stayed down the street from
exactly, and my teacher stayed at the end of the corner from them.
Okay.
So it was easy to dialogue it, right?
Okay.
So one particular time, I don't know how she messed up, but she ended up giving the school our sleeping meds and not our Ritalin. So we were in gym class and we both passed out.
Oh my God.
And they had to call my mother and say, the twins is, went to sleep and, this is what's going on. Come to find out, she gave them the wrong meds. She didn't give them the Ritalin. She gave them the sleeping med. But it goes to show you how life is screwed up.
Yeah.
You get what I'm
she
saying?
definitely was not fit.
She's a drug expert.
Yeah.
Well, she's supposed to be clean.
I have a question for you too. How do you feel now about your mother? Like, where's everything at now?
Non-existent. I want to see justice. Like whether she go to jail now, her whole thing was she'll die before we get closure. We don't find our dad. Good closure from what? We don't found it now. We already, and the thing was, it was never out to come and get her. What people fail to realize, even her, we tried to build a relationship with you, and the screwed up part about it is the biggest advocate she had was my mother
and my dad.
That was their biggest cheerleader. Like, just pray for her. She gonna get better. She's sick. But at the hands of us, keep getting hurt. So we kept giving it a time, and that's when, even outside of living with her them 3 years, we tried to build a relationship with her and the rest of our siblings, but it just never connected that way because we wasn't.
Toxic. Let me say,
what was it like living with her?
Toxic.
Have you seen the show Shameless? Like, bro,
no,
Shameless.
Toxic.
Yeah, I seen Shameless.
That was it.
Wow, that was a very unfit family. Yeah, they had an alcoholic father.
Where to go?
Yeah, the mother was a drug. They were.
That's us. Wow. Not being black. Yeah. Like, you gotta realize,
I watch her still all of my belongings, and I looked at my sister. Wow. So what ended up happening is, we went back home. All these events, you're gonna try to figure out why DCF didn't get involved, even though the police are involved.
Mm-hmm.
So she owed the drug dealer some money. A cocktail got through in the house with me and my siblings.
Around Christmas time, it was in our room.
We had to jump off the top.
So the drug dealer had thrown this into the house.
Yeah, it threw it. No, he threw it in our room. It was around Christmas time. We was in the back room, and we ran and blew the whole house up. My sister was in the bathroom. The boy downstairs was trying to help her get out. The only thing survived was my uncle's Audis bag. Our cat died. Everything. Like, listen, it was crazy.
So now they knew it was an arson. They knew how the fire started. No. However, the Red Cross, we stayed in a hotel for a while. During that time, my mom and my dad was paying for our clothes because literally she got her kids back, but she had my mom and my dad. So
our school helped.
The school helped. She get a house. They helped try to furnish the house, with vouchers and stuff like that. So we went to a visit because the DCF call got investigated again, but not over that. But we was never taken. It was no.
Even though you almost died in a fire and all that, they still kept y'all over there. Well, did they know about that? The cocktail?
We was on the news. Yeah, we was on
wow.
We had a GoFundMe back
then. Just ignored it.
They gave her resources. They put us in a hotel, and the school was giving us.
But to keep you there, though, that's the part I can't wrap my head around is to keep you there.
Yeah, but she's getting calls too, so they're still not even looking at it. So I have majority of the calls for 1 year, and doing all of this going on, they calling, but nobody's doing anything. So, but They ended up furnishing the house. My mom and my dad went shopping for me and my sisters and forgot to take the price tag off. All of that. It was a whole
You
bunch
know
of
what
stuff.
case list look
Those
like?
were, yeah.
When we go to
She
the
put him
kitchen,
under the
we put
bed.
but we go to school, we come back,
We
and she said somebody broke in the
We
house.
asked her, no, we said
But
something
now
about the shoes. We seen her put it under the bed when my mama dropped them off, right? She slid them under the bed. So we asked her something about the shoes. She said somebody broke into the house and went under the bed and stole them.
But they only stole our stuff.
That's how we
No, she
processed it.
sold y'all
See,
stuff
see,
probably.
the thing is, I think from a very long time, and this is why we don't agree with her, is because we was not taught to get manipulated. You get what I'm saying? My parents talked to us like real people did. You know, they had a conversation with us at a young age and said, hey, look, people looking at y'all look different. It was the 80s, you know, because two black people cannot make mixed kids, right? This is where the funny stuff starts. So we found this out 7. A couple months later, we go meet our bio mom, and they said, Dad. They said, this is your mom and your dad. Me and her looked at each other and said, bullshit. We just had a conversation with two black people can't make mixed kids.
Yeah.
And to look at us how we did then versus now, you like, yeah, I call that too, bro. Like, we don't look like.
So were they lying to you about your race? Or they just left you clueless completely?
Okay.
All right.
In one DCF report, it says,
Asian.
for a while, it says Asian and black. But mind you, they going to court
Hispanic.
with 2 African Americans.
Yeah.
But you got to realize my case was also entwined with my other siblings. Because, you know, so all of my other siblings are literally black, African, all full black, except for one other one. That's the oldest. Like for a while, like
I thought he was my daddy.
biological mom was so messed
He was
up.
the only one that looked like
I
this.
knew that my brother.
I thought he was my
brother
daddy.
Could be my dad. Like,
That's how I looked like it. No bull.
possible.
That was the only person we looked at, and you saying this.
So when you talk about her
conversation,
character,
black people can't have
like,
so we called bullcrap. And I think the thing was we tried having a relationship with her. I don't think in her eyes, because we are a product of her prostitution,
yeah,
that she couldn't look at us and fool. You get what I'm saying? We accepted it. If
We
I
gotta
can get
live
on
it.
here in front of
I
anybody,
think you owe me the
even people that don't like
explanation
me, that
of the
maybe
life
watch
I
this,
live.
to even
Right.
air this out, just
And
let
you
you
know,
know, I don't care.
So she feel
You know what
like
I'm
she
saying?
don't have to hold herself accountable. Any discussion she
She
has, she only owes
She a
to my other
narcissist.
siblings.
She is a narcissist.
But them the two that don't know they that, you know. So they step in and say, well, you got to go through us to get the heart. Like move around. This ain't got nothing to do with you. Well, she was on drugs. Okay, she knew eventually at one point. You say she was, as in like she's off. So then she should hold herself accountable. I'd rather you tell me she's still on drugs and I ain't gonna get the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That you sit here and try to do that. Because even when it came out that my biological father, like we wasn't looking. You know, I never felt no empty soul part in me that made me other than race.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's it. I had a man that was the best, and I love it humbly. So when that came out,
it was just
I sent the screenshot to my brother. My brother sent it to my sister, but my sister got to be in the car with my biological mother. And so for a while she kept saying Puerto Rico, whatever. So my sister said, this is a conversation that my sister told me she had, because I addressed it to her like it wasn't your place. But she was like, the twins is white, they not Puerto Rican. Well, that's a lie. That's all messed up. Kurt Franklin. That they messed up. They daddy Puerto Rican. She turned around and do it. The DNA test.
Yeah.
She's coming. She was showing up as my.
But at one point, she tried to say that me and that
our DNA is that far apart. So she don't even have the same. She's taking more after her dad's DNA. And I had to go on there and physically put her out as half sister because we don't share fathers. You get what I'm saying? But the way the whole DNA part was thrown at us, all this came about during COVID. So when they say COVID changed lives, it definitely changed lives. And the thing was, I've never looked to go look for him, because I'm gonna tell you, anybody screwed up as her, I ain't gonna go looking on the right with them fellas.
It was scary.
Like, it was scary.
But you just happened to
it was
find
thrown
out.
at us. And the thing was, it was this lady named Mary through some kind of adoption agency that reached out to me. You know, when they randomly call your number and I'm there, and she was like, well, we trying to see how we can get more people to adopt kids. I'm like, man, listen, y'all screwed me up. I definitely ain't going down that road. So she was sitting there listening, and she was asking, like, so what exactly what happened, so we see what we kind of can change different. I'm like, you can't change anything different that actually transpired. You could be the nicest person in the world and work for the most corrupt company in the world and still go down. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So I explained that to her, and she ended up was like, well, I have an ancestry test. I had it for a child that she adopted who was Black. So she was like, I have an extra one. I could give it to you. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
So I end up doing it by us being identical. We only got to do one. So I did it and came back, and I'm sitting there. I was going to go across the street. No, I called her. I said, you sitting down? She like, yeah. I said, well, forget it. I'm going to go across the street.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked over there. I said, you won't believe this. We was so unsure. One time we used to play a game where everybody put what they thought a race was and pull it in a hat and see who got it right.
Yeah.
And it came back as being Caucasian. And let's just say we're more Caucasian than we is African American, even though we came from an African American woman.
Was your biological mother, was she mixed?
No, she's all Black.
Interesting.
It would have came up with my sisters.
She see where we share and don't share, so she's able to see our DNA test results too. So, but that was the same sister at one point that she tried to say me and
we had the same daddy as her.
So tell me this: what are you two doing now today to still pursue the injustice that you experienced?
We done reached out to so many people.
I have 4 investigations going on for victims to be notified, because as we saying now, they on rampant. When they go on rampant, they starting to violate stuff. When you start moving too quick, taking all of these kids, what they're gonna do is try to go under another reform law if they get too many violations. Therefore, them victims that's actually in care, they will never get justice or notified. And they should be notified that something is getting hurt. Because even with that being said, at that moment when they was doing all of the reform laws for us as a whole, I wouldn't want anything different than more just my adoption. You know what I'm saying? I think you owe me that. You promised me that. You let me go all the way to the last court date and it got shut down.
So were you ever adopted?
No, we went through the psychological part. We picked our name. We seen all the doctors that they wanted us to see. We got all the way until the last court date where it was going to be final. And I have this man that's sitting in an orange jumpsuit that tell me he was never listed on my father on any of my things. But now all of a sudden you pop up as the boyfriend now becomes my father. And I contest to a DNA test. You can't say that. Mind you, when they did the CHIPS order, they did a restraining order on him. So how in the devil do I look to a man in an orange jumpsuit that I have a restraining order as my father to contest my adoption when he can't even live free? He's in jail. Y'all taking care of him.
Right. How long was he in jail for?
That's
he's been in and out of jail our whole life. Currently,
in jail?
Right now, they be in and out of jail currently. And they still together. To the point where they put a no contact order on them 2 idiots.
But that was part of the reform law that they did. When I said 19 regulations, like they can't say, well, I don't know where the victim's at to even get justice, survivor benefits, or resources or anything. They're lying. So we have one particular date. Any case child that was in DCF from 93 to 2001 or felon jurisdiction. Every last one. So when you want to get your file and you don't see all of it because it's in that case, they can't even disclose. We as a victim don't even know what their full agreement is, and they don't even have to disclose it.
Wow.
So I want notification of all of it. I want an investigation. Everybody should have that right. Like I said before, our case is more unique than all other states that did the reform law only because we had no attorney to consent to represent us. We didn't have anybody. And at that time, if Milwaukee is getting investigated, they can't do anything on my best interest. Who did it? It should have been notified by my mother and my father. And the moment we got a GAL I thought he didn't come in and say nothing about the reform law investigation. He acted like he was working on our behalf of our adoption. The moment I met them, he should have had a letter to tell me.
Right.
Because that would have been my protection letter to make sure my adoption go through. You get what I'm saying? He's advocating for me, but he's really not, because he's appointed by the state to represent me. Who interest?
Right.
He only moved on your interest, because my interest would have been identified. And the fact that he came at perfect timing to work on my adoption, meaning I was coherent to understand that adoption, but I couldn't stop this man from going on a birth certificate. So how? My mother and my father prepared us. They were so transparent where I could see bull. And how is this justice? The only thing I want is my adoption. But y'all violate rights and doing all of this is going to do what? Even shaking hands, he don't even know what he's shaking hands on.
So what type of resources do you need now? What do you need now? Because maybe somebody listening could be connected to someone.
I'm just not getting back on my feet to do the credit, how the student loans, like they left everything on me, just have a group with my own community. We don't have that here unless it's on social media. That's no in-person, you want your community.
So you need a collective group of individuals who experience.
It's not so much what we need, it's what we're trying to give to the people that been in our situation. Because what people fail to realize is we have the highest statistics against us. Black, low income. You get what I'm saying? My mother was on drugs. You get what I'm saying? I was in foster care. Like where else to go?
Even the man they claiming to be your father
is in jail. So you get what I'm saying? When you get to see all this going down, it's so many odds against us. And my aunt, my dad's aunt, asked us and said, "How did y'all know y'all did not want to live there?" You get what I'm saying? How did you know as a kid this wasn't right? Because we've been like this our whole life. They can call it rebellions. We call it like it's life. We've been like this, and we always second guess a lot of stuff, because when you go through so much trauma, eventually your guard get put down so much, I'm numb. So now when people see something, do something, they jump up and react. We can sit back and look and play it out and actually get a better perspective of what's going on, because we so numb to the pain. We so numb to the trauma. You numb to it that you already expect it, and you can go. And the crazy thing is, my older sister tried to use that against us and say, well, what, maybe y'all not, do you think you're approachable? I said, do you hear what you just said? You feel like that you can't defend us because we're not approachable, but you watching everything that done transpired in our whole life, every obstacle we done dealt with, and you never took the seat back and looked at it as in our eyes. You get what I'm saying? We are biracial. Regardless if we did or didn't know what we was at the end, look what we was dealing with. We're living in foster care. Granted, that's the best home you can deal and give you the love as if you are living there and they naturally yours, but you still looking and say, you know what, something's missing. Then when you go from there and live in a biological home, who you know is your blood, and they treat you different only because of how you look or because you can't pass as the pimp's kid, and go from there, then how do you go? Right. Then you go into the streets and you dealing with them out there, and they treat you different because we are biracial in the 80s. We was not accepted. So when people look at racism, it affected
it go both ways.
To white people or any other race, it didn't matter. You were black. Yeah. They didn't care what the mama is, what the daddy is. It does not matter.
They just categorize you.
They automatically, it's colorism. We automatically got it. So you never feel accepted. So now, what battle do I fight? Then when I'm coming here going back and forth with you, you should understand where I'm coming from. At some point, you grew up in foster care. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So why never have our back? We the youngest of 8 kids, and we have to defend ourselves all the time. Anytime it's anything going on, it's always the mama, the sister, and the son versus the twins. It was never been y'all having our back, even in a situation where a gun was pulled out on her. You're sitting in a room with her, and it took you 10 years to apologize, if the apology was even.
Why was a gun pulled out on you?
She stole my money.
And you said something to her about it, so she pulled a gun out on you?
Me and her was going back and forth because I was working and I needed to get a rental car. And, during the time I'm caring for her and all of that while she going back and forth with mental health. And I'm trying to take care of her child, my two, make sure DCF don't get involved. So she was like, I'll help you. So I'm thinking, she really trying to help me. Thinking. So I put the money in her account. I go to work. I get off work and try to go get the card, to go get the rental car. The money gone. And she like, it's not on there. I took it in there myself. She said it may have been overdraft, meaning, okay, I got that. I'm aware. So I paid the overdraft fee, not there. So I'm at work and I watch my sister take her kids to Chuck E. Cheese. Where the hell you get some money from? And I'm watching it. And you watching me struggle and take care of her and our kids. And that's when I knew at that moment.
And she took your money and took the rest of your siblings to Chuck E.
She
Cheese?
put-
No, my sister and her
the
other kids.
adjudicated father was
Wow.
locked up. Her husband. She put money on his phone. Listen, I'm married to the teller. So when I say I know, I walked the money in there and was in that account. I know.
Yeah.
So when I kept questioning her about it, she kept saying one in there. She see me getting agitated and irritated because guess what? I still don't have a rental. I still got to get to and from work. You get what I'm saying? And I got an advancement from my job. Meaning I got to pay it back. And it was $325. So if I get advancement, I got to pay it back. It's really $650, right? Because I'm not getting it. So me and her get into it. I'm living in my sister's house at the time because my apartment had bed bugs. And I was trying to make sure everything was straight, would not get investigated. And she was like, I'm never there anyway. So, which is true. She's never there. Okay. Go in the house, and something in my heart said, whoop her ass. So I called my mama down south. She on her way home. I had to go get the kids from the daycare. Mind you, my biological mother and my sister and her kids are already at the house when I got there. But, I'm just trying to mellow it out. But she was trying to avoid me. Something didn't seem right. So I ended up calling my mama like, on some real, like she got a gun. She may use it. She may not, but I'm about to beat her ass. I'm going to walk down here because her and my sister only live like a block and a half apart. So I'm like, no, I can't do it. She's like, no, she's trying to talk me out of it. At this point, you've been trying to talk me out of it, of being there, always trying to be the good person, and I'm not even hearing it. Like I'm not. I hang up with her. She kept
had enough at this point.
She kept calling my phone. And by the time everybody got home, she pop up at the house. So I'm like, oh shit, you deliver it. So she come in the house. My sister's standing there now. My sister know in her soul while she's standing there, this had nothing to do with her. She knew that. She knew that when she left, she dropped her kids off because they was already there, right? And she knew she was going to get that gun. You knew that. Your nieces and nephews is in this room, even though yours is gone.
Right.
You in the room. Because when she got home, I said, Job, whatever is about to go down, trust me. Because at this point, I'm tired. She was like, ain't it something you want to say to Angelique? Like, hell no, my problem ain't with her. It's with you. You won't stole my money. Angelique still ain't saying nothing.
Nothing. She
get the arguing, yelling, you ain't shit, you can't. No, you ain't nothing but a hoe. Like, bitch, I came from one. Like, excuse my language.
No,
like,
you
for
fine.
real, like, I
speak
can't.
out.
I'm trying to be so transparent because, like, at that moment, I was so over it. I was numb. I knew it was like the lottery. It would never happen again.
It was
Never.
all that stuff. It built up. It built up. It
I
built
was
up. It
so
built up. It
calm.
built up.
It was so
And at this point, it was
She
enough.
was antagonizing her the whole time.
Yeah, she was.
You were born dead. You should have stayed dead. She said, bitch, I'm back as your karma. The crazy thing is with that comment,
Wow.
for the record now, Patricia Gordon, if you watching this,
Franklin,
whatever,
It wasn't
Natalie,
me who died.
Nicole, whoever you is, the one twin you wish death on was the wrong twin. You couldn't even get that right. So you've been wishing death on this girl for 36 years. So now my DCF records can prove I was the one born dead.
Wow.
She was like, you need to go find your baby. I know who my baby daddy is. You need to go find your baby daddies and do what with them? I said, my daddy can come in here. It's like, still ain't know who he is. That was the moment I knew she didn't know. I'm really calm because I need you to understand what's coming, walking back, bro. Like when I say it never happened again, you won't even have that space and opportunity.
So at this point, she pulled her gun out, cocked it back, and put it to her head. So she's sitting at
Your
the edge.
biological mother.
She swung on me first. We got the fighting. My sister tried to break it up and all of that. Then she pulled the gun out.
And she was sitting on the bed. She put it up to her head. She looked up. She said, do something. She said, that's been done before. Do something the next person and do. Pull it.
I got robbed at gunpoint. I did while I was pregnant. I got mazed.
But from that point on,
scared then.
just sitting there, she still did and brought it up this year, last year when it came out. And I said, she was like, I see what both of them was wrong. I said, where in this could she prevent that? where. But the fact that you knew all along because you were with her when she went and dropped your kids off and left my son and her 2 daughters in that room, you knew they was there. And I told her, even coming out the hospital, I can tell you, like, listen, it's bull crap. I don't care. Because when she stood up, I stood up, I said, sit your ass out. Look, don't let it.
She
but
said,
the fact that you knew your kids wasn't there. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It lets me know you didn't give a damn about these kids. You don't give a darn about us. And I had to explain to her. I said, Angelique, what you fail to realize, that gun could have went off and hit my son. That gun could have hit off and one of her daughters. That gun
Man.
could have went off and hit your dumb ass, but you ain't even processing this right now.
Right.
Make it make sense.
yeah.
But then you sit here and fix
Not
your
a-
lips to sit here and say, I see where both was wrong. When you will be, they will die and to sit here and accept anything she's doing wrong. Even when she say anything to us, she'll be like, she grown. That's my mama. I can't say nothing to her. Bull crap. She's a grown individual. Ain't no grown person right. Don't nobody know everything, and not all the parents know the answers to everything. And we accepted that. We done took all this stuff growing up, but you think we're gonna continue taking this? And now we
And you're
are
adults
subjecting
at this
our
point?
kids to the same abuse that you did to us because of what?
Right.
And we did. Only reason why we kept our relationship and trying to reach out to any, including the siblings and her, is because we had nobody. We wanted to feel like we had that. But at the
You
end of
just
the
wanted
day,
a
if it's
family.
worth all this, bro, y'all can have it. Y'all can stay hunky together. I'm done. Like, I'm done. When I said they're dead to me, I mean dead to me. And I mean that with
And that's part of the
the
resources
most
I seek
expensive
for.
words that I can put on this paper is when I say done. I want my birth certificate to have my parents' name on it. That's how done I am. I'm so done that my name should not be on anybody's obituary listed as kin and love and left by anybody because I've been left with them.
Yeah.
I'm so done
And you
because
ain't
at
wrong.
the end of the day, you sit here and justify your actions and sit here and tell us you've been through so much you can write a book. The fuck you think this is funny?
What was
At some
your
point in me, like, make me laugh.
what about your mother's parents? Your biological mother's parents? You never found out anything about them either?
Never met him.
Wow.
You know what?
It will only be
Can I
a
say
story of
something
what
about
somebody
this?
said.
Because
Yeah.
when people ask about her parents,
Yeah.
I get she got a history. Everybody got a history, but hear this part out
She
while we
still had
sitting
a
on
choice
live.
at some point.
She definitely had a
But
choice.
listen,
But I'm just curious because
okay, so let me put it in the terms like this, because this is where I took from all this, and I had to have a conversation with one of my aunties about it because they're like, well, she been through a lot. Well, fuck that. I don't want to hear that. Bro, I'm the victim to her. So at the same sense, you got to look at it as she been through a lot. She yearned for her mother because she wasn't there. If you yearn for your mother,
but why is she treating you wrong though?
when you have children,
But she treat all of them wrong. It's just they choose to kiss her butt.
they
and
kiss
be in
her.
that
They
cycle.
manipulated it.
Yeah.
They manipulated.
Like,
So, but the
she
thing
fall off
is,
all of them.
what people don't realize is it's not a disease that can be cured. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, trauma can change people, but in the same sense, she went through what she went through, but you knew at some point you were acting out because you yearned for something you couldn't get.
So she made a choice.
You went to
and she
older
didn't
men.
receive help.
You went to older men because
Yep.
your
If you
father
knew you
wasn't
weren't
available.
capable,
You
you
get what I'm
should
saying?
walk
You got
away.
people that go see older men when their father isn't available to get that around them, but you yearn for it. So when you have kids, you tend to try to do better and show them the things you didn't have, right?
I mean, that's what you would think someone would do.
At the end of the day, first of all, I'm gonna put it in these words. Her mother died giving birth
To
my aunt. So it wasn't that
Mm.
she wasn't there because she chose not to be there.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, a man can raise a kid. You went through that, but I'm tired of the excuses and I'm gonna throw them through the like you can't. I don't want to hear them.
Yeah, because she didn't go through
Because
nearly half
at
the
the
shit
end of the
y'all
day-
went through at all.
At the end of the day,
At some
what
point,
I
it was
went
her
through,
choice.
what
Yeah.
I went through, I can't sit here and put that on my son because of what you did. And I know the mother that I yearned for. I know the sister and brother that I wanted to have.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy is that's how you break the cycle because I give my kids what I didn't get. I'm gonna love my kids more. My mother never sit here and told us I love her. So when I tell my kids every day, I love you, I go in the room just to sit here and look at them
Yeah.
because that's all I had. This is a new legacy because they're never gonna be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
My baby 5 years old and don't have a clue who she is.
Yeah, she haven't met mine.
My oldest son, he 19. He don't want nothing to do with him. But at the end of the day, he was in that room.
Yeah.
He was 10.
At the time she pointed the gun at her.
Oh yeah.
So
So does he have some trauma from that? Does he talk to you about that or mention that
I think
that affected him?
I only affected him because it affected us, and he didn't really understand the
At the time.
magnitude of what happened. And we're open with them. You know what I'm saying? Her oldest daughter and my son is a year apart. They 18 and 19.
Okay.
And a year to almost the date. So they've been around each other, and we open with them. I have a conversation with them all the time. I open, how you feel and what's going on, only because they feelings matter.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And again, we don't know everything. So we do have to step back as a parent, but like, you know what? Let me see it. I even asked my kid, like, you think I'm a good parent? Because, I'm not trying to be your friend, but also I don't want to do that love where it just make you go the opposite. Should I say? Because some people you can push, and they still gonna go left.
Yeah.
But the thing is to have that open dialogue with them, but it is. He see him in the store. He walk right past him.
But you know what? Because I'm listening to what y'all saying. Because even for me, I feel like if my mother treated me some type of way, and I know that shit hurted me, I'm gonna, because I love my kids so much, I'm not gonna let them feel that pain. So it's no excuse for nobody to do that. I'm just sorry. One thing about Black mothers, they don't like take a kind of
narcissist. She's a narcissist. She's a terrible narcissist.
They don't.
She would if she out
they take that to their grave.
She said it.
She
thought all this was going to her grave until she realized that. Listen, I told you when Kobe came, not only did the DCF stuff get exposed, and then the father got exposed at the same time. So we was trying to juggle both of them. I said, listen, you deal with one, I deal with one. We figured out collectively together. It was just so much, and it's like, even then, she didn't stop. Even then. And it's like, just own up to it, bro. This the most you can get out of in 30 years.
Yeah.
Like the craziest thing ever. Just own it. Just say you didn't know. We not judging you. We've been accepting you didn't know it, but you can't look past that. And by looking at us, it reminds you that you don't know. So you don't know how to treat us. But it was never no loving, no hated relationship from the beginning. I just didn't want to live with you.
Yeah. The sad part about all this, y'all just gonna have to let it go, forgive, and just move on, because ain't nobody gonna apologize. She ain't apologizing for nothing.
No, we did that. It's done. The only thing now we just
gonna die there and say my daddy Puerto Rican.
I'm done with you.
Kurt Franklin, Josephine Franklin, Jocelyn.
That's what Franklin. I guess we
I'm saying that Kurt Franklin like you too.
But you know what though, y'all, y'all pain is gonna turn into.
It's definitely purpose.
Like y'all finna go far with this right here. Don't think that it's a testimony from God.
Listen, when we go back to resources, I want my adoption, and I don't think I should have to pay for it. It's owed to me.
It's definitely owed to you.
So when you go,
they should have never took y'all from them.
Making money. But listen, y'all shook dirty hands. Just give me what you promised me and let me go from there.
I'm gonna say this, y'all.
I don't.
Jocelyn had me watch this movie called Foster Boy. I bought the movie on YouTube. I paid for it.
Listen,
and it's a really good film. If y'all are confused or are looking for some way to connect the story to their story and get a better understanding on what they're talking about in the movie, she explained to me that it is more so about the foster parents that they were abused by in the movie. This boy in the movie named Jamal, their story is similar, but the difference is the abuse wasn't from the foster parents. It was from their biological parents. And so their fight is similar to his fight, but it's flipped around. Yeah. So if you have not seen that movie, I do recommend it. I appreciate you telling me to watch that, because that did actually help me put the pieces together a little bit more clearly.
It really do. But the thing is, the only difference also with his is that the state didn't get corrupt until the stuff started getting exposed. The state is corrupt because they actually shook dirty hands at the beginning of this.
Right.
And the thing is, it just goes to show you that the same people, and from our point, this is how we looked at it. The same people that took a vow to protect and serve
can hold a secret,
can hold a deep secret amongst each other. But
and protecting each other.
They have no choice, because if you let one go down, it's gonna unravel the whole bunch.
And I'm pretty sure if one spoke, they probably disappear. That's how crazy it is.
Congress, when it comes to a reform law and how it's violating your constitutional rights, they arguing this now. Like literally go under reform law investigation on YouTube and you will see it. And they arguing that it's literally violate all your constitutional rights as a victim, as a human, and leave it alone.
Yeah.
At least Adam. Now the rest of them, you know, they have an attorney. They could try to figure out how to do it with the attorney. That's why certain cases during certain periods, I don't even want to talk. We can't discuss because you had legal representation.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
You never even had a chance to get
correct,
legal representation.
I didn't have that. You
We
know,
just
the
went to
only
court one day.
the only advocate,
DCF. It was
the only advocate we had was my mother and my father, and that's to this day. That's my only advocate.
And you guys aren't connected to any of the other kids that were victims in similar situations, are you? Did you guys ever build relationships with any of the other?
Who is the other one?
That's what I'm asking.
We
Knowing that there's other
we don't
victims,
know.
y'all never had a
If
chance
it's
to
some
connect
other
with
ones
none of
out
those
there,
guys.
reach out to us and let's go from there because
Yeah, but they had to be within that 93 to 90 2001. Has to be.
I hope y'all heard what
Anything
she
beyond
said.
that, you had a GAL in full effect, and there's nothing.
Right.
Other states, they all got GAL. We didn't. You get?
Yeah.
So that's why I say there got to be some kind of survival of resources. It got to be.
Yeah.
It got to be.
If anybody has a similar story to theirs, please inbox me so I can connect y'all, because something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. It's got to be somebody out there that wants to help them move
Case
this
managers,
forward.
They coming forward, but they only coming forward after they leave. They don't help us. 'Cause
Right.
You don't have that way in. You know, and
see, our records, we didn't even
Correct.
get all our records. But the crazy thing is, normally when you get your records, and I don't care who it is, anytime CPS get caught on anybody, they like roaches. You can't get them out.
Yeah.
So every month they make visits, right? During the 3 years we was taking, that one time we had a monthly visit where they just pop up to the house and see our things. They only came when a call was made.
but they report that shit in my
So,
Mhm.
so what you're saying is, if they had to come out and do
Oh,
an
she had the
inspection,
income. You schedule it with her.
yeah,
Right? So that's when she go get the furniture from over there off 12th of Elite and go and get the whole 9 works for the house. You think you done went to a mansion. As soon as they leave here, all your shit start going out the door with them. You like, what the hell going on, buddy? Like, damn, that's the
You
TV.
can literally walk in the house and it's
They even got that in our reports.
So they had stuff. They were putting stuff in there for the inspections only, but then when
They
they
said
left,
it. They said they was getting manipulated by her. I
Yeah.
said, but the fact you can put it in my records that you're being manipulated and don't see it, y'all dumb.
wow, they just
I seen and I can prove this. I have documentation showing that she was getting 2 checks because she'll call a man missing
For her money.
and then would cash out.
for Social Security.
Wow.
And she tell me that we only stay with my mom because money. It
So
was their
listen,
money.
when we
you-
grew
look
up,
what you
y'all, when she got paid on the first of the month, they would line up. And when I say line up, it would be my brother, my sister,
did. Or
me,
my
and
brother
her.
may be
We
gone.
ain't even really got lined up. We be in a room or whatever, right?
Mhm.
She'll give them their first of the money check and whatever. She look at me and her and say, your mama
Your
and daddy
mama,
got you.
Your mama and your daddy gonna do it.
Shut up.
So y'all never even got y'all portion of the
Who's
money.
y'all? I didn't even get that.
No, I was getting it.
I didn't even
And
get
that's what I
that.
told my sister. She said, I thought you knew. How you thought I knew you had to pay my bus fare?
I didn't get it.
Because we had to go shopping with you. So she
I ain't
get
get nothing.
Everybody got the house while she get high. Then you come back, she touching walls.
Listen, I
paranoid.
can tell you how. Listen, this is one instance she used. It's a with the Indian spray on it. I don't care what color, whether it's pink, purple. Listen, when she spray that and get
She
to
hot.
looking out the windows, you already know what time that is.
So she would get high around y'all.
Yeah.
She don't even want to tell you what happened with that one, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
high around us.
She
It
said it
was
was
a
a
part of y'all,
routine. This was a
goddamn
part
it.
of my life.
Pick your poison.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it'd be good and daddy there, but I think it
Honestly,
always the fights
It's
after that.
crazy
Who's
and
gonna the last
neglect.
part. Like,
She neglect fars cares, but when she's high, she's nice
sweet
because
as
she
day.
wants you out her way.
Mm.
But she could smoke all her money gone in minutes.
Yeah, you got some people who empathize with y'all here in the comments.
Like, yeah. So
They
far
did
as
not
DCF,
deserve that at all.
They need to get a whole team because if you think about it, I'm 36 years old. So look at this generation, what y'all dealing with. So it's more resources out there,
Right.
You know, and look at
Give
a
us
lot
some of them
this-
resources that you giving the kids that is in the system right then and there.
So that
You
y'all
get what
can
I'm
fix
saying?
your credit and get
You
that
know,
back.
not
And
only that,
so that you can get legal
we can,
support.
if we can help somebody that been in our situation or that's in there to even give them the correct resources, because these what they're giving them, bro, that man, listen, I can guarantee you I don't need to know how to write a check if I got a debit card, but give me the real essentials. You get what I'm saying? Give me the real things that I need. When I say what I need.
The foster parents,
if you know I'm about to age out, make sure as they do, apply for the Social Security on their behalf and give them the paperwork so they can follow up with the Social Security on their case. Because now, guess what's going to happen? I'm no longer your property. I'm going to have to do it on my own so I can follow up with them.
Right.
They didn't do that. When we aged out, they didn't even communicate with Social Security. She was still being denied as a child, but was receiving it as a child. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
But Social Security work two ways when you hear this. When you age out, you're supposed to get Social Security.
Yeah.
Because you have no resources at all.
That was not good to us.
Social Security wasn't just a disabled part, but at any point you should never got denied as long as you're aging out.
So did they? Is that how it happened? You guys went to try and get it, and they was after the fact that they didn't give it to y'all. Y'all tried to get it, and they said no.
They denied it while we was in care. They said we still in care, but that was the process that we supposed to went through.
Yeah.
Right. A year before you age out, you supposed to go apply for it. But on my documentations, when I aged out, they try to make it sound like they gave me all of these resources. But she's saying that I need to look for a job in an apartment. And that's my goal, is to move and get a job in an apartment. So what resources you giving me?
Nothing.
You listed the resources that you provided, other than kept saying Lad Lake. Lad Lake had a waiting list.
Lad Lake had no funding. The crazy thing is, y'all helping two people out at this point. Both of us had kids. So we more critical to aging out and need those resources than somebody that's 18 and aging out, because we have children. But they didn't care. They didn't care because guess what? Now they're putting us in the same predicament you just took us out of. Poverty, neglect, abuse, everything. Because guess what? Now you know I can't provide for my child.
And now y'all dealing
CPS
with it.
Come in again, and they like roaches, and they come in and they just keep going. Then what do? You forced me to be back in this, just like the system forced Black men not to be in the home with their children by giving them benefits and say you can't qualify if he's under your roof.
Right.
What's the difference?
But to give us the resource for adoption,
I have to say this man is no longer in my household to get the same benefits I would qualify for.
Hold on, but to say resources,
it doesn't make
it should
any
be
sense.
offered to the foster parents too, because they have a right to advocate who they take care for.
Right.
You know, they love these kids. You only know what you're reading on paper, and you may not see that child again. They get another case manager, but yet you get what I'm saying. The conflict of interest for best interest shouldn't come from a social worker, a judge. Nobody, even a GAL. I only see my GAL 5 minutes before walking in court.
Swear to God.
And we got to sum my whole life up like
in
this.
10 minutes.
So if I was to
actually, it ain't even 10 minutes. The only thing they ask you is, do you want to be returned? Yes or no?
But and you on court, you come back out, you could be in and out the whole building, even stripping neck in 30 minutes. But they should give it, like, if we was adopted like in 98, right? No, we could have avoided all of this. They offer a credit report. You ain't got to worry about that, because guess what? When
I
you
got a new name.
Right.
You got a new name and social. I would never been subjected to the argument, because if you go back to the reform law of the beginning, the argument, you argue how neglectful and the long-term damages in effect. So where was that percentage measures to protect them?
Right. And they knew.
You arguing this to win jurisdiction, but you had no plan for that when you know you did not include the kids to age out. Because the stipulations were, they're gonna be in and out of the system in 2 years. Because that's the law.
They did that because they knew y'all had no power. They knew y'all had no power.
Of the fact that they knew my mama and my daddy had money, but that's their money.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like she didn't have certain resources to sign our name, put us on checking account. But you're not offering the money to go in the checking account, but yet she got to check this off. So there's more resources that's taken from them that she can't build for the future, because we got to survive now.
And that's one of the resources. They be like, well, you open up a check account. Okay, cool.
Give me the money.
Question is, that too.
Get a job. You need a birth certificate.
My mother had to have consent just to take us out of town. How is she going to help me open up an account? I'm a minor. This is a resource though, right? They're telling my mother, this is what you're supposed to teach her, how to write a check. How can I write a check? Not to mention, I have to have so much money in my account, and depending on who you bank with, each month it got to stay at a certain level. Right?
I know exactly how that works. Yep. And you need money
Who
to put in the account to open the account.
Exactly. But y'all ain't giving me no money.
Right. But telling you to go do it with no money.
And then guess what? If I don't know how to learn how to open up an account, then you put that. Your mother was supposed to show you the debt resources back in 2004.
Or they blackmail you. The social worker, they do that a lot. They told my mama plenty of times and my daddy, if you don't do the classes, then they gonna be removed. Mind you, they only got the license to keep us. We supposed to be adopted, went through the whole process, and you're gonna say classes.
So
when y'all make the poor decision to return these children back to their mother, they didn't come back the same way you took them, and we still love them. And you want to
not to mention, you know what? And our parents is our biggest advocate. And the people don't realize my parents didn't go and say, I'm gonna take a class to be a foster parent. They did not. They did this to help us out. So we also got to look at it as what they endured while we were gone, because that attachment. We lived with them for 7 years. Nonstop. Listen, we lived there for 7 years without even knowing this woman is this. That's abandonment for one, and it should have been abandonment. But we lived there for 7 years with no contact. Imagine what that put on them. That's PTSD on them, because they didn't really sign up for this. We was just thrown in their lap. Now a lot of people are like, well, y'all know what it into it when y'all become a foster parent. Yeah, if they signed up for it, it just so happened we was thrown in their lap, and they took the responsibility to say, hey, let me go ahead and do what I need to do.
Let me do the right thing.
Making it harder by forcing extra classes and doing all this. They got so as petty as they was arguing. They got mad over dog shot records. That's how petty it got over.
What they say is,
y'all worried about dog shot records, but we missing this.
No, we want you to have the most normal life possible. So it got to the point where my social worker got to be gone or whatever, and I'm out with my friends or whatever. I play softball, volleyball for school. She'll call like, you have a meeting, and like if this adoption happened, you wouldn't exist.
Right.
So she'd be like, well, you need to come home, and she'll try to put me down as non-compliant. Yeah, this is not the normal life. Click. And so she'd be like, well, she got a car, she could get here. Yeah, okay, I'm not getting there. I'm not stopping what I'm doing of this normal life I was promised. And so at that point, that's when they try to make everything a gyps order. And then that's when the documentation said we didn't want to be adopted, and we couldn't be adopted because of our behavior.
Wow. That's crazy. So they put it on y'all and made it seem like it was your fault that y'all wasn't adopted.
Yeah, but I got a social worker writing it. But the case manager, the supervisor, she signed.
The crazy thing is, hear this out though. In those same records, when you word something and you word it and you come and sit with us, your words and her words is not going to be the same.
Right.
Adjectives, nothing. But if you go in there and you look down the list, to the next social worker, it's the same format. It's the same conversation. It's the same. It's copied and paste. So when did we repeat this stupid stuff
and then
twice?
They copy and paste, and each one want to try to word it different, so they messed it up. So
just being lazy and not doing their damn job.
What happened in the 80s? CPS to tell you, I don't know what country, what state you lived in the 80s. DCF, what is they one excuse? They were what? Over caseload, right?
Yeah.
So they was writing anything now. So when we get to seeing this stuff it's the 80s. Look, y'all ain't do nothing better.
They could have saved that case file and not touched.
First of all, y'all got us down as one individual under our DCF thing. So when she pulled her record, she definitely got my records. There's no conflict of interest in this way, no shape or form, huh?
It shouldn't be. No.
Oh yeah, that's definitely conflict of interest.
I was jostling at one point,
and that's
crazy.
Try to get your records, and it say twins. I could put two to two together.
Mm-hmm.
So when you refer to us, sometimes it can be twin two. It could be Jocelyn, Josephine. At this point, I can pretty much put my records and her records together, and we can figure it all out amongst us, because it's like
one sheet of paper. All you're doing is blanking stuff. The lady tried to make it seem like it was separate files, but it's not, because at some point she literally stopped writing out the stuff.
She just gave
it to me. So I got my auntie name in there. I got my uncle name in there. I got when my sister going DCF. Like, she just stopped blanking it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking like, oh, but it violated her HIPAA every time I did it.
And when I get it,
they get us mixed up in there plenty times. And then the social workers literally admitted to threatening people and literally, if you don't do this, it's gonna be removal. Yeah, but knowing now doing the research, if you had a child placed in your year, tell me if I'm right, placed in your care for more than a year, they leave, come back. Yes, you do have to take the foster care classes over again.
Mhm.
Correct. But after 19 years, what could you possibly be learning? They professors. Literally, am I right? What could they possibly keep? And why she have to do more classes than a neglectful person who just at home doing the drugs?
Right. Why does why do your foster
made a
parents got to
neglectful
put in more
decision to
effort than the
remove
actual
us.
parent
They
itself?
make that neglect because they have to come back and get it, right? Even though it took long. However, you can apologize now, but you can blackmail them and say, "Oh, that was your job. You'll be okay."
It wasn't their job. They didn't.
Hold on. A social worker can have a caregiver. I mean, have a child, visiting, get traumatized off one side. Imagine what they going through taking care of them kids on a daily,
Right.
and dealing with that complication. So what about them too?
Right.
Because if anything happened, like when she had to go down there, my mom and my dad filed my sister on her taxes. Yeah, my daddy made quite a bit, but they were there to substitute where the money was going.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back and say, IRS, boom. Who are these two? It's Marjorie Shildart now. And you need to prove relationship for her in order to get your taxes, or you're gonna be penalized. My mom and my dad, they don't like conflict, so they like, well, we just pay. Okay, what happened in the future when we try to inherit a house that we already helped taking care of, and you know what I'm saying, we investing in to leave down to our kids, and you tell me that I'm gonna have to pay a taxes as not a daughter but just a friend,
even though you're raising me as your daughter,
as you raising me. So yeah, I need that done now. So
wow.
when you're talking about the long-term effect, y'all not going above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
But they was able to take the 36,000 from her. They sure did. All because they was holding the documentation, the files. We never got our files until then.
We
and they said
in 2000, this year got our some of our records. We didn't even get all of them. According to the record, she's not born until she's 15 months. She don't even exist.
They really messed that up.
They don't. Like, as far as resources, if anybody can help with the interstate Mississippi to Wisconsin adoption, most definitely.
I mean, the real resources they need is, first of all, if you're gonna have like a transitional housing, you gotta make sure that they have a nice. If they have a child or don't have a child, just have the income to be able to provide. If they can't get the income, then utilize, Social Security as that benefit to go from there. You know what I'm saying? That's real resources. You could give me my records. That way, when I do apply for college, that I can get the scholarships and get the stuff to prove that. Right now, up until when we get our records now, we couldn't even prove we was even in DCF care. Couldn't. We went before 2 judges and they both denied us our own records at children's courts.
Yep.
Wow.
We wrote them. We
asked judge have a right to tell you,
and they have a right to tell you no. You got to have a good reason, and I don't know what the reason is yet. But if you find a judge and you're watching it, I need my records, bro. But they're not gonna give it to me. But also in those same records, he admitted to violating my rights when I asked for a paternity test and you denied me my rights.
Do you think that maybe they're not giving you the records because they don't have them? That they lost them?
Nope, they're in that lawsuit. No.
So you think they do have them?
If mine proof all of these regulations that change and fell in that jurisdiction is in there, they can't.
But the thing is, they're denying me my records. They're not telling me my records don't exist. That's the big difference.
They just saying you can't have them.
He said no.
It's a denial letter.
He said you don't have enough evidence.
Exactly.
I went on Facebook and that's how I ended up finding the group, because I went on Facebook trying to figure out like that you really can get denied this. Because literally when they start garnishing my mom and my daddy, at some point it became a struggle. That's not their responsibility. You done loved us, did a job, did everything for the state. And the state did turn their back on their own foster parent like that. And you saying it's an employee. So they retired with y'all, took care of everything, been there, and they don't have no kind of benefit behind it. Not even a signature on the. I told my mother and father, y'all wasn't able to sign my birth certificate, but you could marry me and my husband. So my mother and my father are on my marriage license.
I want them on
my daughter. My last daughter is named after both of my parents, Jolena, Joe and Angelina.
Wow.
I just,
She cut that
even though we
before
get our
she been
perspective,
there.
you know, the thing
Yeah.
is, we also want to show what happens to, in our case, who wasn't a foster parent that just happened to meet us.
Mhm.
And what they view of it is, and how they looking at it and processing and going through this, because it affects them too. You know,
Yeah.
they can have PTSD from that too and go from there. The only thing is, no one wants to look at it from the foster parent side because it's a negative lookout on what foster parents done did to the children, and it's not even a case here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, people ask us all the time, like, who is your superheroes?
My
parents.
mama and my daddy.
You know what? I'm so glad that they took y'all in and did everything that they
I
could
got
for
on their
y'all.
nerves though. Trust me. I know I did. Like,
But
my
you've been
daddy
through a
just be
lot, so
looking
it's
at me
expected
like,
that you're gonna put them through
and I
something.
think
You've
because
been
that's
through
what
a
he's
lot.
like. That's your way of thinking. Like, his questions were always mental.
Always.
So like, that's your way of thinking. Like, you think you say, no, he said, do you think before you talk? Like, that's how it go. He's like, oh my god.
Because of how we grew up, they didn't really yell at us. You know what I'm saying? But bro, looking back at it, I think I'd take an ass over the day of my life. That'll hurt for a couple minutes. Then you playing mind games with me, like for real, for real.
Yeah.
But it mentally made us stronger to deal with what we was dealing with.
But
you know what I'm saying?
Even just in the journey of just being around my mom and my dad, because they got on the foster care committee, even while they trying to make them take other classes. So it's more out there.
Yeah.
It really is. I know a lot of good. My daughter, grandmother. I know a lot of good foster mothers, and they don't get
The accolades that they deserve.
They don't.
They don't get their flowers.
Well, you know what?
at
Maybe
all.
that's something we need to start.
Like
They
Maybe
don't
we
get their
need to
flowers
start
at
that.
all.
Because even with my grandmother, just her trying to keep all of us together,
Mhm.
like to this day, I don't care how viral it go, you can never see my brother and my sister disrespect neither one. It doesn't matter how pissed off they get at me and try to defend their abuser, but they can never sit here and say anything negative
by my mom.
Okay, none of the family, no, none. Because my mother and father always try to advocate for our safety. And now if it say return, they would never, even though we left them 3 years, it was never far.
Yeah.
When we left the 3 years, when we
Never.
lived with them for the 3 years, let's get the understanding, because I don't want nobody to ever think that, oh, we was gone 3 years and we didn't
I
hear
seen
from
her
them
every
until
day.
we came.
They were still there and they lived up the street, you said, right?
Yeah.
She paid a neighbor to watch
She
out
paid
for
the
us.
lady downstairs, down the street. She had a bird fountain, and she would pay her each time to feed us, and we'd call her through there and go from there. She also showed up to our school and did stuff like that. I remember this one time when we stayed over there on Cherry Street, and she bought our big wheels over there so we can play with them. So she would be parked at the end of the block while me and her go up and down the street with the big wheels, but we wasn't allowed to go and say anything to her hadn't our siblings come and showed it. And the retaliation wouldn't have always been on her. Yeah, she would have stopped us from going outside,
Yeah.
but it would have been on us too, physical. So at this point, we knew we couldn't say nothing, and we can't just embrace her the
But
way
my
we
So
were.
y'all had to sneak
My-
and see
yeah.
your
Until it
parents.
was beneficial for them.
Yeah.
So when we over there and we're hungry and we call, because my
No,
mother,
it got to a black male when they found out if we didn't call my mama and try to get enough for all of us, they gonna tell.
yeah,
Because now at the point we got
we
it,
eating
right?
and they not.
So, but my mama and my daddy didn't care about that anyway.
She just
Because
asked how
we-
many over there.
Yeah, how many did?
How many there?
And then she would feed all of
Oh,
you,
and she'll
you and
feed
your
us all.
siblings.
And then when she feed us, she'll slip a couple dollars
And she
inside
hide
our-
money in the shoe sock. She brought
Anywhere.
us our clothes. And she'd bring us change of clothes and whatnot. So she always hid it in the seam of a pants.
Amen for them.
And a hat.
That's-
So when we say them 3 years being away from her, we wasn't away. And that's from their understanding. And it took a minute. And when we had the conversation with our biological mother, for her to even realize, you didn't even realize that. And
Right.
it took for my brother and my sister to say, they're right. They're
Yeah.
right. When we were hungry, yeah, that's who fed us.
That's who made sure we ate and it
But
wasn't
when
you.
those conversations did come up
Yeah.
and they try to like vouch on it,
Mhm.
this shit threatened to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And they feel
That's our
guilty.
go-to thing.
Yeah, I don't feel guilty of that. You choose
But yeah.
to kill yourself. That's
So, you know, like you said, a lot
gotta
of these
deal with her
foster parents
mistakes.
that's out here that really is doing what they need to do, and you know, taking kids like us in and don't look back. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. You go to anybody in our family and say anything about foster kids, they probably don't even realize we in foster
They
kids.
didn't even know we half of them right now watching this didn't even know we was adopted.
Wasn't adopted. They probably
My
just,
child father known me my whole life. He
we
was
family,
adopted.
and that's all that
No,
matters.
he was adopted, and I ended up having a kid with him. He literally took me to court under Josephine Harris. I said, yeah, I show up. I literally have a court date under Josephine Harris.
Wow.
He thought that I thought she was adopted. Yeah, I thought so too.
But the thing, they don't get they flowers, and it is hard. We go against. You got to realize, people say the police is hard to deal with. Imagine dealing with them on a daily basis, because these is beyond the police right here. And to live every day and love this child as if they your own, and wake up and know that it's a chance they can be taken,
or even a chance that while y'all was living with her, that y'all could be hurt.
We were,
and
hurt.
There was nothing that they
we
could
were
do.
hurt.
We were hurt.
It was plenty times where she'd see us and we'd tell her, and she say Joe and Jock. And we have done it because we got the record to prove it, where we told the teachers at school, and then they
CPS was called.
Yeah.
She said, I can't, I call, but they're gonna make it seem like I'm trying to fight her
And she's
get y'all
stalking us.
back. And your mom is not cooperating with that. So just keep reporting. We was reporting the whole time, no removal.
I think the lowest
I'm sorry
point
y'all went
CPR
through
got,
that.
the lowest point that CPR got in our records is submit out your mouth that you came out there on a call and we lived in an abandoned house and left us there.
Oh yeah.
You left us in them conditions, my nigga. Like, you used the exact words. It's condemned.
Yeah.
You use that. You didn't say broken here. You said condemned.
So CPS came to the house, deemed the home condemned, and
left
still
us.
turned around and left.
No, they gave her 30 days to fix it.
With
How
our
do you
money.
fix a condemned
Listen,
house?
You can't.
With our money.
If it's condemned, it's over. It's over for that. It's time to move.
My grandma was running electricity next door with a stitch of
She
cord.
admitted that the
I know
stairs
that.
had a gap in them, so you had to even get up to where we
I
at.
remember that.
And we
Like,
were so little and skinny and malnourished that going up the stairs was a work of art. First and foremost, you got 4 kids and 2 adults living in a 2-bedroom house. No stove.
that was a one
no,
bedroom.
2. It was one in the back, one in the front. And we had a hot plate. We didn't have a stove. All this is on our records, by the way. So anybody want to contest what we're saying? Everything is actually, we have
In the
proof to that.
records.
So
But we documented this and said all of this.
we said it before we even knew that. When we telling people that we lived in a abandoned house, to sit here and put it in words and people get to actually see what we saying and knowing we weren't lying, like, they screwed us. And the one thing the state only say, I apologize, you fell through the gap. No,
It's no gap. It's no justice. It's a reform. It's bull.
It was poor management for sure. They definitely didn't even plan for this reform at all. They were more so protecting their
I
asses.
think in this sense that
It's
they
And
never thought
again,
that.
y'all had no power.
Nobody had to-
No. Mark my words. It's gonna end up being another reform law. They so messed up. Then for one, now they still have no case managers. One of my friends literally had 6 case managers in like a whole 2 years. And every time she put a referral in, it would never get granted because now she need a new one, and this worker got to play catch up. And no. Because
And who knows how many kids they got them? How many
It's
cases?
supposed to be a biased advocate, but they there to make sure that it's for that child benefit.
Yeah.
That's what a case manager is.
Mhm.
Like, imagine your PO. They still got to protect the state, your crime, whatever.
Yeah.
But they there. Like, you're not getting no resources.
Nothing.
But that reform law, let's go back to I in my soul, that is harsh. To sit here and say, you know what, let's throw that remainder over here because it's a negative number and we ain't got time to put the money and resources in it to become positive. Let's just put this stipulation in where these kids age out in 2 years.
Right.
And hope to God
And
they don't
hope to
say
God
nothing.
they don't say nothing.
Right. So that we don't have to
However,
take care
When they
of
say fill in the
anything.
gap, it's
We'll just
because-
pay for all the
hold on.
medical and mental
When they
medication
say,
they need.
Hold on, when they say the gap, we supposed to be out. But here it is 15 years later, and it's a whole algorithm behind this. Like, really? So you do stuff to get a percentage measures mean a result at the end. What result you thought that you gave us?
Right. Yeah, y'all really are going to y'all gonna need an army behind y'all of people who experience something similar.
Listen,
No, seriously.
people don't think about DCF until DCF is in your life.
Yeah.
So everybody just imagine how many people is not watching this, but all of a sudden when it hit home, then you want to know.
Right.
Your interest should be there because it's children.
Yeah, it's children.
And
It's
it all
children.
got to do with
Yeah.
who we put in this office. Because guess what?
Yeah.
We've reached out to a lot of our city representatives, our state representatives, even down to the federal representatives. Hence has that we found Eric. And
It's really just to get
there's no resources about it. And the only thing they're sending us is generic letters, both of us, as I sent to you, about an ongoing open investigation. Now, let me know what's open now.
Right.
Are you trying to reform when we telling
Unless
you
they're investigating us.
Right.
investigate
Who
me. I don't
knows
care.
what they doing?
Like, but all we want right now when we say justice, I want my daughter adoption. I'm owed that. My kids owed that.
Yeah.
So I want it.
And you want them to pay for it.
Most definitely.
They was gonna pay for it then. What makes it different
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
It was listen, honestly, that's why I would have asked if we had the availability to be notified in the reform law. But they so excluded us to the point where it was carried over at all with no consequences. So yes, I want that.
Yeah.
When I say carried over, when the state of Wisconsin continued the same bull, they could have gave it to us when we aged out.
Yeah. They should
We
have.
already here.
A lot of
they
this
knew
could
that-
be avoided
knew
if
that
they would have
was
just
gonna
did
age
that.
out. They knew that. They knew that. Hey, she's going to school. They scheduled it. So why not just, hey, we got an opportunity. Y'all want y'all daughter adoption here? Like, y'all want y'all.
I contested under the court and said I wanted a DNA test. He is not my father, so that we can go ahead and the thing
But that's
is,
not what adjudicated mean. Adjudicated mean Pat and him literally agreed.
But
So
he was
because you
nowhere
could put
in
anybody
our
on a
stuff.
child's birth certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
mine was
maybe not
blank.
now, but
Right.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'd rather left it blank. But
If they want to say that they are your father, then and the mom
We can
agrees, they can put them
Well,
on the
I'ma
birth
put it like
certificate and
this.
say
the way we were
that
brought
that's the
into
father.
foster care, it should have never been able to put on there from the beginning when
Right.
you admitted that you got her
under
prostitution. You get what I'm saying?
right.
So
she acknowledged
So
there's
then
no
it's-
name up until the adoption start. Now all of a sudden, here's a father without DNA.
especially when the first court date that we appeared to after 6 years, she's getting off probation again for
They can say
prostitution.
Okay.
That's the part that don't make
So
sense.
it's
Yeah.
the history. Nothing was ever considered as to saving any of them kids, and that's why I just sit back and just say, like, how many
'Cause-
more is it?
Because none of it was in the best interest of the kids at all.
None
It was
of
always
it-
in the
none
best
of this
interest of
ever
the
was.
organization
You know what they
and what they
here,
can get out of it.
The law will tell you at the age of 13 you have a voice. Bull
Yeah,
crap. No. The only thing they asked us was, do you want to be returned?
Mhm.
They forgot the part to hear us say we wanted to be adopted. The judge told me under record that by the time I go through with getting the DNA test and getting him taken off, I can marry somebody and change my name.
Mm.
And that's under oath.
But it don't change anything. 'Cause
Right.
They still on my marriage license. My biological mother and him is still on my marriage license. Even though my parents married us, I got all 4 of them.
But you know what's crazy is
I've
going
never
through
heard
all
of nothing like this.
Because when you get married, when you get married, your parents' name is on your birth certificate.
Yeah.
It's on your marriage license. Yeah. Right. So that transferred over to your marriage license. Only way I could put my mama and my daddy on my marriage license was to let them marry us,
Mhm.
and they're gonna be down as the
Yeah.
the people.
So
The
when you say
officiary, right?
So when you say she married y'all, you mean like in the
Or
road
they-
of a pastor?
Yeah.
My mama
Yep.
and my daddy.
When you get
My
married,
foster parents,
who you
yeah.
married you is actually on your marriage.
Yeah, they're on your
certificate.
marriage license.
So if you go to the justice of the peace, it's gonna
Whoever-
be justice of the peace, and whoever that person is that officiated is on me on your marriage license.
Mhm.
my
So
foster
my
parents is on
dad
there.
my dad is a pastor.
Yeah.
So he ordained the marriage, and my mom was with him. So that's how
I was
he
able to
is
do it.
able to. Yeah, she did that. But the thing is, what people don't also
But you
Smart.
don't have to manipulate the system
But
to get what you want.
imagine-
Imagine not a birth certificate.
But listen to this. This is the weirdest thing. Imagine us growing up and you got to go through credit reports, you go through school loans and stuff to verify who
That's
you
the
is,
hard part.
right?
Mhm.
I got 2 individuals I have no clue about. I know a lot about my mom. I know my dad. I know a lot of their family. I know more about them than I know about my own biological family. My boyfriend knows more about my biological side, which is screwed up because I would have never let him know this in damn life. He knows more about them than I know about them. So
Mhm.
what happened when you go get your credit card and they want to see have you lived at this address? What's your dad's
That's
name?
because
So What did I ask you? Their birthday. I'm sitting here trying to do the math and do this. I'm like, listen, I get
37
red flag
years
all the
old.
time. I went to Social Security office one day to get some paperwork, and I had to see if I was getting history of getting it as a kid or something like that. So I'm in there, and as I'm in there, the lady said she was trying to be nice, not to ask my ID. So she was like, "Okay, what's your name and what's your mom's maiden name?" So I give it to her, and then I'm like, "Wait," I had to call my brother. I'm like, "How you spell the last name?" So then she put it in. She's still being nice and still asked for ID. So she was like, what's her date of birth? I said, okay, I was born in 87. She had me on 27. So she said, ma'am, can I see your ID? I said, you ain't wrong. Fuck it, here. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like, what can I give her? What can I tell you? I don't know. They shouldn't even be allowed on any of my credit reports.
Right.
Like, I can't tell you. If this is the question, you know more about them than I do. Ma'am, what is their birthday?
Right.
Can you give me a wrong answer? This cool?
Well, you know what? This has been a very, very interesting story. It is definitely eye-opening. And I'm so glad that you two came on the show to let this be known. And I really hope that you guys get more out of being able to project this and tell people about it. I hope something comes from this.
Yeah. And I hope that people do not sit here and just get justice under a reform law.
Yeah.
I hope y'all really and that goes for even the people that's in prison with the same laws.
Yeah.
Even though they did commit a crime, but their crime was that sentence, not anything beyond that. And that's what no justice.
Right.
They just, hey, too many people on us with a lot of heat. Let's throw a reform law and say things gonna get better. And we can see if it get better, but we don't have no control.
But when they made the
Right.
reform law, they put the gap in place
they
that
did.
we put in.
Right.
Because when you did it, you didn't say, well, we're going to apply it to y'all.
Yeah.
Well, you're telling me, well, we just
It's
applied it
cool.
to the people before you. I said, I don't care about them damn kids.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I totally understand where you coming from. I would want the same thing as y'all.
Yeah.
I would want the same thing as y'all. And I'm sure anybody else who was watching today can identify with wanting justice for you too. So this is live, this is streamed through.
I mean, not
And-
doing justice for us. They gonna be in this predicament. Family,
Yeah.
we didn't have DCF was knocking on plenty doors in the 80s, bro.
No,
Yeah.
they're knocking on doors now. They in schools, they in hospitals. Literally, they have a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Not only they your healthcare provider, they paying the bill. So now they have
They're gonna use that against you when
and
you go to
have
court.
messed up.
They're gonna use that
diagnoses
against you.
That really lead you to get investigated.
Look
Right.
at Children's Hospital.
You know?
What did they do? They
got
mandated reporters,
adoption
right?
agency.
They definitely have adoption agency, but they're mandated reporters, right? Guess who pays? You can go through Children's Community. That is Children's Hospital's insurance. You go get anything done.
Yeah.
They can pull them records without your consent because they're paying for it.
Yep.
And use it against you.
And they already
You
in
not being
school.
to the dentist and this. You
Yeah.
you went to the hospital with a skull fracture for this. Even though everything can be justified on your end, they're gonna use it against you.
Yeah. That's sad. It's sad, but we are running out of time. But this was a really, really good segment, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this is Jocelyn, this is Josephine, and this is Kenyatta. If you guys have any questions, concerns, any resources, tools, anything like that can help these ladies, please, please, please inbox me. I will make sure that they get it and we'll go from there. But thank you so much for watching Mind My Own Podcast.